Looks like we got Gladys in the house and Edith Margaret Harris. Oh, y'all, I'm thirsty. I've been working in the garden all day or most of the afternoon, and it was 83 degrees today, so it was hot. I was sweating. When I got through, I come in the house, jumped in the shower, shampooed my hair, took a shower, put on some clean clothes. I ate a bite, and then I had to lay down for an hour. I was so give out. That's the reason the live is so late. It started at 8:30 instead of 7 or 6:30. I was just too tired. I had to rest a little bit. Get me down here to my chat. Get into YouTube live chat, not top chat. I don't even know why they have a choice. Yep, we got Gladys, Edith, Steppenwolf, Paula, Dennis. Hey there, y'all. I'm going live tonight at Gladys's request. Oh, I'm so tired. Man, I've got so much still to do in my garden. But I got both raised beds set up where they're going to be. I had to move around some stuff. But I got them set up. I got all the cardboard. I went next door because evidently they're moving in appliances and stuff, so they had big pieces of cardboard outside. And I had to go into town this morning to go by the drugstore. They called me and said my allergy medicine was ready to be picked up. So I went out there, and I noticed when I came back home, they had great big pieces of cardboard, and some of them were thrown on their like pile at the corner. So I pulled in, parked, put my purse up, went back over there. I walked over there, and I asked the guy, I said, is it all right if I get some of this cardboard? Or are you going to throw it away, or do you need it? He said, what you want to do with it? And I said, I want to put it at the bottom of these raised beds that I'm fixing. He said, sure, take it. He said, we're going to have to throw all this away anyway. So he gave me like 4 big sheets. I mean, one whole sheet completely covered underneath the raised bed. So I've got like 3 sheets of cardboard under each raised bed, solid sheets, especially under the little one. And now I've been putting smaller pieces of cardboard inside, dried wood. Next, I got to start putting in paper and leaves and all that stuff, and then put the dirt and stuff in the top before I put the potting mix and cocoa coir and all that stuff in the top of it. Because the big one I want to put my strawberries in, because I've got a greenhouse cover that goes on that raised bed, and it's like the green one back here on the and I didn't turn my notifications off. Daggone it. I always forget something. But yeah, it's got a cover that I can put on it, just like the greenhouse back here. So I said that might be the ideal place to put my strawberries. You know, especially to keep them from freezing and keep them protected over the winter months. I can get straw or whatever I need to do to put inside, you know, to protect the plants, and then having that cover on it would help even more, I think. But that's what I'm going to try. If y'all have any better suggestions, please let me know. Steppenwolf said, I'm in the hospital. My wounds flared up on my legs. I have cellulitis. Oh, I'm sorry, Stephen. I hope you get to feeling better real quick. Yeah, we'll all be praying for you. And I got to take this Rolaids, or I'm going to be belching the whole live. I don't even really know what cellulitis is, but it sounds like almost something like gout. My brother has bad flare-ups of gout. But, you know, if he'd stay away from a lot of foods that he shouldn't be eating, he probably wouldn't be that bad. My son this year had a flare-up of it. And the doctor told him he was eating too much processed food, like too much sausage and processed meats, you know, like sliced meats for sandwiches and all that kind of stuff. Oh, cellulitis is a skin infection. Oh, that don't sound good at all. Yeah, we'll all be praying for you. Lucky's fine. I took him out a few minutes ago, let him go to the bathroom. He's been fed, and I finally got him settled down, so I don't want to take him out again. He's also I'm training him to walk with a leash. That's the way I did my other cats. So if I had to take a trip to North Carolina, you know, and I don't have somebody to look after him while I'm gone, I can take him with me. And the leash is for when I maybe stop at the rest areas. I can take him out and walk him for him to use the bathroom and that type of thing. Because I wouldn't want him to take off at a rest area. You'd never catch him again. He'd be spooked. Yeah, you can't really see him. But he's finally settled down. Can you see him in there? He's in his little pet taxi. Get a shot of him right there. See him in there? He's looking this way. But I don't want to take him out. Because then it'll take me forever to get him settled down to where he won't make a ruckus in there. So, yeah, he's doing fine. But I can't have a litter box in the house. I'm allergic to litter. I found that out when I had my other cats because I never could have a litter box in the house. I'd either take them out and put them on a leash, a lead wire on the trees, just like you would a dog, and let him go out there and use the bathroom, or I'd put a leash on him and walk him out there. And then when he got used to being around here, later on, the last couple of years I had him, I'd just let him out. And he'd come back. You know, he'd go out and do his business, and then he'd come back to the door. He was ready to come back in. That's what we're talking about, Edith. Yeah, he just needs to rest and take it easy. Because they said they don't want him to be running around and jumping like normal, to kind of tone his activity down a little bit, let him rest, give him time to heal up. I mean, he's pretty much back to his normal self today, as far as the way he's acting. Yesterday, and when I first brought him home, the poor thing, he couldn't even walk. I mean, he'd try to walk, and his back legs would almost fall over, like, you know, because he was under that painkiller and anesthesia they gave him to knock him out for his surgery. He knows what's going on. Let him be a cat. Well, he just had surgery, chill. So he's got to heal up. I can't just turn him loose. And they filed his nails off so he wouldn't scratch my furniture up. But they'll grow back. They said by the time he's ready to go back outside, his nails will be grown back. So he will have protection. I don't know what they gave him. They were going to give me some kind of medicine to bring home to give him myself, or I could give him a shot. And I said, no, just give him a shot, because he probably won't take the medicine if I try to give it to him. I've never had good luck giving animals medicine. Yes, he's drinking water. And I've been giving him, his food off and on, a little bit of water off and on. I don't want to overdo it because I don't want him throwing up. I'm so thirsty. After sweating and working in the yard all afternoon. In the 83 or so degree heat. It's already hot in Texas, y'all. It's 70 right now. Yeah, I might make him stay in for about a week. And I'll see how he's doing. And then I might just let him go out in the yard on his own. I don't know, because since his nails are filed down, I'm not sure, because I don't want these stray cats to come up and get in a fight with him, because he doesn't have that much protection, because his claws are filed down to where he can't shred my furniture while he's in here. No, she mentioned it, but I said, well, it's up to you. Do you think he really needs one? And I found out, at first she said, well, he probably needs a cone because you don't want him to lick and be pulling his stitches out. But I found out too that in the male cats, they don't have the stitches on the outside. The stitches are underneath the skin where you can't see them. So he couldn't pull them out anyway. So they decided not to put him in a cone. I think that poor cat would go crazy if he had a cone hanging on his head. But yeah, I don't mind keeping him in. He stays in his little pet taxi, his bedroom. And, I let him out occasionally, let him walk around. I'll put the leash on him. I'll walk him around a little bit in the yard. I just don't let him overdo it. And I bring him back, put him right back in his little house, and he goes right to sleep. He's curled up in there right now to go to sleep. You can't even see him. He's all the way to the back of the little bedroom pet taxi. Yeah, I can't turn him loose in the house because he'd be on top of everything. He'd be getting into everything. He'd be using the bathroom everywhere. So I just make him stay in there. He's away from little buddy. Little buddy can't fight with him in there. And it's almost like little buddy knows that, he's got to take it easy because he's not. I mean, he was with him on the porch a few minutes ago, and they were right beside one another, and little buddy didn't even offer to swat at him. But, I tell him, no, you can't do that every time I catch him trying to pick a fight with Lucky, because it's like, you can't fight with your brother. He's going to be here. You get used to him. And it's like, when he was gone and at the vet all day, it was like little buddy was walking around, and it was like, I'm by myself. Where's Lucky? He felt like he was all alone. No, I didn't have him declawed because he's an outside cat. I just didn't want him in the house for 2 weeks, and when I let him out, what times he's out walking around, I don't want him scratching on my furniture because he would ruin my furniture. And they said that, since he's never had them filed down before, he's got kitten claws, as they call them. They were sharp as razors, but they were soft. And they said filing them down just this one time, they'll grow back in 2 weeks. And they said that they'd grow back stronger than they were originally. So it should help. But I had a cat before, Crybaby. I had him declawed because he was basically inside all the time. And I didn't want him shredding my furniture. But they only declaw the front paws. They don't take the hind feet off, the claws on their hind feet off. And the vet told me that a lot of people don't realize it because when cats first start to fight, they'll swat at one another like that, with their paws. But he said when they get down to business and really fight, they fight with their hind feet. That's where they do the damage. And after my cat had been here for about 13 years, he finally wanted to go outside. You couldn't keep him in the house. So he'd go out. And I never had a problem with him not having claws on his front feet. I mean, I've seen him get in a fight a couple of times with some of the strays that would come up. And he always won. He'd come back. He was fine. Tamara said, I clipped my inside kitty's nails. Yeah. Well, that's basically what they did with him. They give him a pedicure. But they'll grow back. So by the time he's able to, go outside like he used to, most of the time be outside and just come in once in a while to eat or get cuddled up, his nails will be fine. He'll have enough protection. Yeah, they said just don't let him overdo it. Limit his exercise. You can tell I sweated like crazy. I can't quit drinking. I'm thirsty. I wanted to do a meeting yesterday or last night, but I was busy in the yard, and then I had the association meeting to go to last night. So that took up about 2 hours there because they had Brazos River Authority had there doing a presentation on the lake and the river and all this other stuff. And then they went into the regular business. So by the time I got all that done and got home, I just didn't want to go live. I fixed me a grilled cheese for dinner. I wanted something quick and easy because I didn't want to cook. I did McDonald's $5 value meal for lunch. That was my breakfast and lunch this morning. Yeah, I was wanting to do a potato soup, for a video, but maybe tomorrow I'll get that done because I'll have to cook something for tomorrow. And I can't believe it. My Karen, that was harassing me, and I had to file a report, and they said, well, if she comes back around, you can just call us. She'll go to jail. So she's pretty well stayed away from my property, but she does go to the meetings now. And I found out she's trying to get the association to fix it so you can turn in complaints about your neighbors, but you don't have to have your name known. Like, she wants to be able to file a complaint, and I know against me with her name not on it, so she thinks I won't know she filed it. Well, I already know that's what she's trying to do. She can't come here to harass me anymore, so she's going to try to get the board members to do it. She'll file complaints with them about me to where they'll have to come check my property or whatever. And that'll be harassment right there. And, I mean, it's not going to do her any good because nobody's ever complained about me before. And if all of a sudden I get complaints coming into the association, I know it's her. And she just as well as told it last night. So who does she think she's fooling? It's just another way that she's going to find to harass me without her doing it herself. I mean, the woman is crazy. Yeah, it is a shame, Paula, that you can't get along with your neighbors. If everybody go by the golden rule, do unto the others as you have them do unto you, the world would be a better place. Yeah, well, we're all crazy to a certain point, but, I've never set out to do her any harm. But she's out to get me every time I turn around, just because I don't want any part of her lifestyle. And that's my right. I don't have to engage in her lifestyle. And she's going to harass me, and she even told me, well, I'll make your life miserable. Well, that can work both ways, because she's liable to end up being the miserable one, because if she ends up in jail, I don't think she'll be too happy. And that's exactly where she's going to go if she don't leave me alone. And by the way, if any of the board members, any of these association people, any of the board members want to come look at my property, they want to check out my property lines, they want to check out what I'm growing in my garden, they're all welcome. Anytime you want to come to my house, check out my garden, come on. I'll be here. I will gladly let you go in my garden and look around. You can go check my property lines. I have nothing to hide. Yeah, she's trying to claim too that I'm over the property line. She's telling the Mexicans around here that I'm over the property line. Well, no, I'm not. One of my raised beds, because I didn't know exactly where the property line in the back, right on the easement, my easement to my water meter, may be that far over. It's not a permanent structure. It's not a fence line. It's a movable, raised bed. I would have moved it this year back a couple of inches just to satisfy some people, but I don't have to do it. That's my easement to my property, and just because I'm a couple of inches over into it with just one raised bed, it doesn't matter. The guy that surveyed it the last time, he thought I was over the property line because a bunch of the people told him I was. Well, it was basically these home builders. And he come back and surveyed it again. And I told him, I said, well, if you can find the property lines, the stakes that were put down in the ground years ago, more power to you, because I'd love to know where they're at. I said, every time these lots are surveyed for these homes to be built, they pull the stakes up. They don't want people to see where the property line is. When they put them down on my side, I'll leave them there because I want people to see where the property line is. And I've got an odd lot. Back on this side, it comes straight. Well, it comes kind of straight. And then it comes right about to where my water meter is. And then it's almost like a V. And it goes back up a little bit and it goes back. So it comes down to kind of like a V. And they thought the property line was on this side of my electrical pole, because normally the electrical pole is in the easement. But this was the first pole that was put down on this block other than the association office. They had to have permission to put the pole down. This was the first house. So the people, Lynn and her husband Norman, gave them the permission to put it on their lot. So the pole is not in the easement where it normally goes, because the water meter wasn't even there. They put the pole on my property, on the lot itself, 2 or 3 feet over on the lot. And that's caused a lot of problems with me, because everybody generally thinks that power pole is in the easement, therefore my property line is further back this way, and I'm way over several feet taking up the easement and everybody else's property. That's not true. My electrical pole is not in the easement. It's on my property, several feet inside the property line. And then my water meter is like 5 or 6 feet over in the easement. And if anybody don't believe me, they can call the electric company. Or if the association, the board of directors need to check on it, call the electric company. They'll tell you that pole is on my lot. It's not in the easement. I wish it was. There wouldn't be so much confusion on where the property line is. But I'm within my rights. I'm within my property line. So Now, if I was going to put up a permanent fence, yeah, I'd have to move that raised bed back several inches to put up a fence. Otherwise, it would be maybe 5 or 6 inches over the property line. And you can't do that with a permanent fence. But something like that that's movable, it's not a permanent fixture. It's only a couple of inches over. And it's in my easement, so it don't matter. The easement is part of my yard anyway, and whoever buys the lot behind me. So, yeah, if any of them says anything to my face about it, I'll tell them. You don't want to believe me? Call the electric company. Call Johnson County Electric. And they'll tell you where that pole is. It's not in the easement. Never has been. Well, she never comes into the live, Gladys. Not that I'm ever aware of. But I'm sure she watches some of my lives or my videos just to see if I'm talking about her. You notice I've never mentioned her name, and I won't. But everybody in this neighborhood knows who, if they see my live, they know who I'm talking about. Yeah, the cop told me that filled out the report. If she ever comes back to my property, don't do a thing except call me, and she's going to jail. One of the ladies down at the meeting said, well, why don't you go talk to her about it? Oh, I can't go there. I can't go back up there. Well, why can't you go back? Oh, I just can't. She won't tell them why, because her ass will go to jail. But it just irks me. You know, I've taken care of business. She can't come near me. She knows she'll go to jail if she does. But now she's going after the board of directors to want to complain left and right about everything just to get them to come down here and harass me that way. So, but you know, the board, they all know she complains about everybody. It's not just me. She complains about everything. Because she acts like nobody's entitled to anything but her. And you're supposed to just bow it to her feet and get out of her way. Well, I'm sorry. I'm not one to do that. Well, yeah, she is a Karen. She's one of the Karens you see in these videos. Exactly, Paula. But see, she's trying to get around going to jail by coming here again. So she's going to go through the board to try to anonymously do the complaining and get them to come down here. Some of them at the meeting told them, they said, well, you can't do that. You can't anonymously file a complaint. Because if you file a complaint on somebody, you got to have proof of what they did or why you're complaining. And you can't do it anonymously. And the person you're complaining about has a right to know who's filing the complaint. Yeah, she might, Dennis. I never thought of that. But, you know, I leave people alone. I don't bother anybody. I don't care what other people do. As long as they're not hurting themselves or hurting somebody or hurting me or getting into my business. They can do whatever they want. I leave people alone. I live and let live. And that's what I expect people to do with me. Unless I'm hurting you or bothering you, leave me the you know what alone. But she's the person that can't do that. She's into everybody's business. She runs the neighborhood, runs her mouth about everybody, going and coming. She's got to be a miserable person because she's not happy with anything or anyone. I don't know. She's probably in her 40s, maybe. I don't know. I don't know how old she is. Really don't care. Tamara's dehydrating potato shreds, hash browns tomorrow. I'm trying to change the subject. Thank you, Tamara. Watch it, Linda. She may be looking at you as honey bun. Well, better not. NPC 777, jokes aside, years ago I experienced the situation. Wonder what you did. How did it end up? Because, I mean, you know, I stay in my yard. I don't bother people. She's probably going to tell them next that I'm planting God knows what in my garden, and that's how I'm able to pay my bills, that I ain't making no money on YouTube videos with the garden. Well, it ain't none of her business how I pay my bills or what I'm growing in my yard. I'm not growing anything illegal. I'm growing vegetables. Oh, goodness. I'm sorry, NPC. I guess I'm going to have to talk to the cop that filed the complaint for me. And he told me what to do. And see what he says about the fact that she's not coming up here personally, but she's going through other channels to get them to do it for her. But, you know, I think the board of directors have enough intelligence to know what she's doing. My God, she went after one of the board of directors one time. They like to have a knockdown drag out at one of the meetings that we had outside one day. And that board of director resigned, or they quit being a board of director because they didn't want to have to put up with her. One of the ladies said something about, well, you know what? If I could do it, I'd get a petition up to see that you were moved, that you have to move to another neighborhood. Evidently, you don't like it here, so you need to go find a neighborhood where you do like it. But, you know, I don't think you can get up a petition to make somebody move. If you could, this whole neighborhood probably would have already done it. She doesn't have a husband, Edith. And her partner left a couple of years ago because they didn't like it here. No wonder. I wouldn't live with somebody that did like she does anyway. No, that was not healthy, NPC. I agree. She's not married. She had a live-in lady friend that was her partner at one time when she first came here. But she left. She wasn't here very long. She left. That's what I think. She keeps saying she's disabled and she can't pay all her bills and poor mouthing it around, but yet she drives a brand new truck. She's got a go-kart. She's got a big, expensive riding lawnmower. I mean, to have all that, you wouldn't say that she was hurting too bad. Which, you know, hey, that don't bother me. She can have what she wants. She can say what she wants about herself. I don't care. Ain't my business. Don't want to be my business. Exactly, Edith. The way she is, I sure wouldn't. I don't want any part of that woman. She's a mental case. And I know a guy in this town that's the same way. Well, thank you, NPC, for saying that. And I don't usually rant about stuff like this in my lives, but it was on my mind. Because stuff like that gets me kind of down, I know I live right. I treat people right. I try not to offend anybody or get anybody upset. I do like the Bible says. I do unto others the way I want them to do to me. But there's so many people out there that don't do that. They don't even know what the 10 Commandments are. Maybe if they did, they wouldn't be the way they are. Mr. Maintenance Man Plumber, hey there. Where you be? I'm in need for a plumber. What part of the country are you in? Thank you, NPC. I mean, I pray for her. That's all I know to say. I just pray for her. She gets a better attitude about life and people. Dennis, you're going to go outside and yell at your neighbors just for the hell of it? Exactly, Tamara. You shouldn't complain about other people if they're not hurting you or they're not hurting themselves or they're not hurting anybody, they're not breaking any laws. You should get along with people. Leave them alone. Let them be. It's hard enough to get along in this world, without having to put up with stuff like that. Exactly. I mean, you don't know what that person goes through until you walk a mile in their shoes. I've heard that my whole life. Nobody knows what my life is like unless you walk a mile in my shoes. And until you do, don't criticize my life. I'm not breaking any laws. I'm not hurting anybody. I'm not hurting myself. Exactly, Mr. Maintenance Plumber Man. The 10 Commandments are hard to follow, but God is there for everyone. I used to could recite the 10 Commandments by heart. I couldn't do it anymore because I couldn't get them word for word. But it's been my goal my whole life to basically, the 10 Commandments is my rule. That's what I go by. And I figure it don't matter if I go to church or what I do on a Sunday, as long as I'm not taking the Lord's name in vain and I'm trying to live right by the commandments, I think I'm doing pretty good. I don't bear false witness against my neighbors, and that's something she's doing. That's breaking the 10 Commandment right there. I know, Edith, it's I didn't even want to get on this subject, and I wish we hadn't, but yeah, if so many married couples today would go by the 10 Commandments, there wouldn't be divorces, would there? Exactly, Donna. The man complained he had old shoes until he met the man with no legs. That man with no legs would have gladly been able to wear an old pair of shoes. Yeah, that's exactly right. I don't care what your gender identity is, what your decisions are, what you choose in life for yourself, but don't push it on me. Exactly, and so true, NPC. Hmm. Well, the way I look at it, she's got to be miserable with her life, or she wouldn't do what she does. I think she's so miserable with her own life, she finds fault with everybody else. Exactly, Mr. Maintenance Man. Temptation is everywhere in front of everybody. It's how strong you are, and do you give in to temptations or not? Yeah, I just say a prayer for her. One day she'll wake up and realize everybody in this neighborhood is not her enemy, and she needs to stop doing the things that she does. Because, I mean, if she keeps on, everybody in the community will be her enemy, because she's forcing people not to like her. She's forcing people not to even want to be around her. A lot of them listen to her just to humor her, and then maybe she'll leave, you know? It's not that they want to hear anything that she's got to say. Well, I've always lived by the other one too. Honor your mother and father. And not to bear false witness against your neighbor. Not to commit adultery. And according to the Bible, if you even think in your mind about committing adultery, that's adultery. You don't have to actually do the deed. Well, maybe, Mr. Maintenance Man, I don't really know you. I think this is the first time I've ever seen you in my chat. I mean, you drive people away, you know, with the things that she does. I would have been a good friend to her, but you know, even though I don't like, I don't want anything to do with her lifestyle. I don't hold that against her. As a person, I would have treated her fine. But as it is right now, I don't want to have anything to do with her. I don't want her anywhere near me. Lucky's sound asleep over there. Send her an extra super hot jars. Oh my goodness, Dennis. Have you tried that cowboy candy yet, Dennis? You got the extremely hot one, because the one you got is nothing but 100% jalapenos. I had that one, and then the one that I made for Christmas that had all the different color peppers in it. It's not quite as hot as what I sent you. Because that Christmas cowboy candy is not 100% jalapenos. Like in our school days, the bullies, they bullied to make... Exactly. That's just their nature, and there's not anything you can do about it. Who's your favorite NFL team? Dallas Cowboys, Tar Heels, or North Carolina? Since I am originally from North Carolina, I have to root for Tar Heels. And since I live in Texas, I root for the Cowboys. Although they haven't been doing too good. You'll see me wearing a lot of Dallas Cowboys shirts and hats and different things, because I do support the Dallas Cowboys. And if any time the North Carolina teams are playing, I root for them. And I don't think I've ever seen North Carolina play against Dallas, so It just depends which one is playing that I root for. It won't go to waste. Well, it's real good, you know, like I said, to put a little bit in to season your beans or your collard greens. I even make jalapeno cornbread. I'll chop up a little bit of it, not much because it's pretty hot. Just chop it up a little bit and mix it in with your cornmeal. Chop up some onion and mix it in with your cornmeal with it. It makes a good cornbread, Dennis. It puts a little bit of heat in your cornbread, but not much. But it makes it pretty good. Just shredded potatoes, isn't it, Tamara? Mr. Maintenance Man Plumber, I'll be going live hopefully tomorrow. Oh, okay. Yeah, basically a hash brown. You shred them up with a shredder. But I've never tried dehydrating any. I usually just buy my potatoes fresh. But you know, I've been hearing by the end of this month in a lot of areas, you're not going to be able to even buy strawberries or raspberries or blackberries. And if you do, they're going to be so expensive you can't afford them. Grapefruit is supposed to be the same way. It's because there's not going to be any there to get. Because in the countries that produced the strawberries, the raspberries, the blackberries, the grapefruit, and several other vegetables, they've had drought weather on their crops this past year. So it's destroyed most of their crop. So therefore, it affects us when the supply is down to basically nothing. What there is available is going to be so expensive. Are you going to be able to afford it? The same with some coffees, like specialty coffees. Depending on where it's shipped from, you're not going to be able to get that. If you do, it's going to be so expensive you can't afford it. Hi, Karen. That's what you already planned, cornbread? If you have any questions about plumbing, just let me know. Well, I've got a sink that's leaking. It's 50 years old. And I'm afraid to try to change out the drain myself. Because what I think has happened, the sink itself is rusted out. And I don't know if I take it apart, if I'm going to be able to fix it without putting in a whole new sink. And I don't think I can handle putting in a sink. I mean, I don't know, but I don't think I could. Exactly, Tamara. The tariffs are awful. $8.59 for 18 eggs. But yeah, all these countries that we've been getting grapefruits from, oranges, stuff like that, citrus fruit, lemons, limes, a lot of that stuff, their crops were basically wiped out because of the drought they experienced. Or either like rice fields, some of them just flooded. That didn't flood, it was a drought to where the fields dried up. There's no rice. So some of the rices that are on the market right now are going to be pretty scarce later. Probably not the everyday rice that you and me buy, but I'm talking like the specialties, like the balsamic rice, all these extra special rices that you can buy, which I never get because, you know, they call. And that's kind of scary because they said it's going to happen by the end of the month. I said, well, you know, hopefully if that happens, it's not going to last forever until maybe they can get a good crop in for next year. You don't know because you can't predict the weather. Yeah, he can't cut Social Security. I mean, Social Security is not enough now. That's why I'm doing YouTube. And that's another thing. My neighbor seems to think because I have mentioned that I get a Social Security check every month that it's disability. No, it's not disability. It's regular retirement Social Security. At my age, I'm entitled to it. I mean, it's none of her business what I get anyway. But yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that's not true, but you walk into a store in the produce section and you go to buy a grapefruit and there's none there. I went in there in Walmart and there was only like 6 grapefruit on the counter in the produce section, where usually you go in there, you see bags of grapefruit. Because usually I will buy the bag of grapefruit, that's got 5 or 6 grapefruit in it. Because I love grapefruit. I'd rather have grapefruit than have an orange. But when I went in there and got my last 2 grapefruit, there was like 5, 6, maybe 7 grapefruit in that bin, and that was it. And I was thinking to myself, well, I'm wondering if that's part of this thing they're talking about, that there's, it's not going to be the fact that they're so expensive you can't buy them. They're not going to be any because they lost their crops. No, he said several times that I've heard Trump say that he is not messing with Social Security. Some people are trying to say that he's trying to do away with Social Security, but he says he's not, so. Oh, I tell you what, I bought me a whole handful of jalapenos. I sat here today taking a break from working in the garden, and I split those jalapenos open. I got all the seeds out of them. I proceeded, after I did that, I put the baggie of cut jalapenos in a bag, and I put them in the freezer. I took all the seeds out in the yard, and I proceeded to go around my whole garden. And I deposited seeds here, there, and everywhere. I like to plant jalapenos to make the cowboy candy, but I also like to plant the hot peppers to keep the ants out of the garden and leave the plants alone. I got to plant my okra and quite a few other things tomorrow. Because I can get it all planted, but from seeds, I don't have to worry about watering it. Unless it's something that's already coming up and it's starting to dry out, then I'll have to, put some compost tea on it. But the jalapeno seed, I just spread them out, didn't water them, nothing, just leave them. The next good rain we have, which is coming because we haven't hit our rainy season yet. But I want to get all the seeds out before the rain hits, because that's going to help the seeds germinate and, pop up out of the dirt. And I got my flower bulbs to get out. I've got my rock gardens to weed. I got to weed out the rock gardens before I can plant my flower bulbs. And I'm afraid I'm going to keep them too long and they're not going to put out the little flowers. Over the Edge. Can I interview on my podcast? I have never seen your podcast, Over the Edge. You mean you want to get me on your podcast live and interview me? What would you interview me for? Yeah, the Christmas cowboy candy is not quite as hot as the original. The original is 100% jalapenos. The Christmas cowboy candy that I made is made with hot peppers and mild peppers, so it's not quite as hot, but it's good. I've never seen your podcast, Over the Edge. I'm going to have to check that out. I mean, I don't mind doing it. I'll need to know a little bit more what I'm getting into, though. Yes, please do. When would you want to do something like that? Well, I find something that is over the edge. I'm not sure if it's you or not. Did you do one with LA Guns? You can talk about whatever you want. Did you do the one on LA Guns? Doesn't say much about you, though. It doesn't say who is the owner of the channel, Over the Edge. So I'm not sure if I've got the right one. Yeah, see, I didn't think so. I'll have to look it up later. I would be worried, Linda. Huh? We'll see. I don't know. I've never went live with anybody else like that before, especially not on an interview. But I'll think about it. Yeah, I love to put cowboy candy and cornbread, Mexican cornbread muffins. Can put them on tacos, taco salad. Put them in beans to season them when you cook them. Put them in your greens when you eat them. Just a little, not much, because a little goes a long way. Yeah, I've sold some of it, Karen. There's some of it on Poshmark where I put it for sale. Some of my viewers have went there and bought some. And there's Rated RJ. Hello, Rated RJ. Yeah, a little bit in cowboy candy and deviled eggs is good, but you don't want to put much. A little bit goes a long way. Broke my arm yesterday. Oh no. Damien, how did you break your arm? Cowboy candy. It's hot peppers, Rated RJ. It's hot peppers canned in vinegar and sugar and all kind of spices. It's pretty good, but it's hot. And I love the pepper jelly and the pepper jam. Sometimes it's just a little warm, but not hot. And it's so good. I've eaten one whole jar of it myself, just putting it on toast. Yeah, I make some of it like relish, Tamara, cowboy candy relish, and then I make just regular cowboy candy. I do both of it. I like the relish because you can, I don't have to chop it up later. It's already chopped. I fell off a skateboard while doing a trick. Oh my goodness. Well, I'm sorry you fell and broke your leg. You got to be more careful. Oh, I know, I'm from DFW. You just broke your arm yesterday. Oh goodness. Yeah, I planted a ton of jalapenos. And then, if all these sweet bell pepper come up, I'm going to have a blue million bell pepper plants because I've got green, yellow, red, orange bell pepper, all 4 colors. I got plenty of totes back here though. But I've noticed when I was going around trying to clean up some of them, I've got volunteer tomato plants already coming up. And those are like the cherry tomatoes and the grape tomatoes that I had last year. It's where some of the little tomatoes fell in the pot or fell down in the tote and their seeds are coming up. It's doing pretty good. I rubbed some, what do you call it? Deep heat stuff on my neck after I took a shower this evening. And I took some ibuprofen, so I'm not really hurting right now. I was before, though. Oh, wow, Rated RJ. You have got well water and septic. Well, that's good because you don't have to pay a water bill. You can water all you need to water. I can't do that. I have to store water in 32-gallon containers, actually compost tea, to water my garden in between my watering days. Yeah, and I put some seed in the greenhouse, or I've got some of them in pots now to come up, but they've not come up yet. So I don't know if they froze and if they're still going to come up or not, but I'm hoping they will. I don't know if I've got any more purple pepper seeds or not because I may have used all of it. I only had one little package of the purple peppers, so I don't know if I've got any more. And I don't know if those that I planted will come up. Because, they went through 2 or 3 nights of freezing temperature after I put them in the pots. My geraniums come up, but they're little bitty, tiny, itty bitty things yet. They're not growing very fast. I planted some of the purple pepper seeds last year, but I think my package is empty. I found in my seed bag. I don't think there's any more seeds left. What I can, Edith, and I use, the way I set my totes up, they've got a water reservoir on the bottom about that deep, and then I got a drain spout. So if it overflows, then it goes in a bucket where I can re-water everything. And when it rains, the buckets fill up. And it's all compost tea coming out of the totes or the 5-gallon buckets that I plant in. So that's, ways that I save water. I recirculate water, recirculate compost tea and fertilizer. Because every bit of that water has fertilizer and all kind of good stuff in it for plants that overflows out of the totes and the 5-gallon buckets into that bucket on the ground that I can re-water with. And my water bill's stays pretty low doing that. And like I said, when I wash dishes, I take my dishwater, I put a pan. I've got a dish pan that I put in my sink. And I take that dishwater, when I'm through with it, I take it out the door and I water my plants right at the door. You know, I've got like, what is it? Can't think of the name of the flowers that I planted in that half wine barrel that sits on the stump. Hollyhocks. I water them and my clematis and several other pots with the dish pan water. And they love it. That's like giving them fertilizer. Yeah, I'd love to have like rain gutters put on my patio, at least. I'd love to have them on the whole house roof, to where they ran into water containers, water catchment, but I'd have to have some pretty big ones. Because, you know, one of my neighbors said they caught enough rainwater off their roof, off their spout, you know, their gutters, into these great big containers they've got that holds the rainwater, that they can water their garden all summer with it. They don't worry about, you know, water rationing or anything. They've got plenty of water to use in their garden, in their yard. I don't have that big of containers because I can't afford them. Yeah, it'd be nice if I had like a 500-gallon water container at the end of my corner of my house, catching rainwater during our rain season. It would fill up. I could probably fill several of them up during the rain season. I'd have enough to run me all summer. Maybe one day. But for right now, I have to water with a little bucket out of my 32-gallon containers, because that's what I can afford. Because we're still rationed to one day a week to water. And on the other days, if I need to water anything, I get it out of my containers that I've got. And I try to keep enough of the 32-gallon containers around my yard in the back full of compost tea, to where if I have to water everything that's out there, I've got enough water to do it at least one time. Until on my watering day, I can fill my containers up again. But you know, on your water bill, it shows you how you stand according to the other people on the same water company. And I'm right up at the very top for using the least amount of water. So I don't think they can complain about me using too much water. Not when other people are using 2 and 3 times the water that I use. So I feel pretty good about that. I mean, I've got my garden, and I've got enough water to water it. If I'm just physically able to go around with my bucket or my sprinkler, you know, my little watering can to water everything, which that gets to be a job, especially if it's 100 degrees out. But they've got our watering times. I think it's from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. or either like 12 midnight or 1 a.m. to like 4 a.m. or something like that. And I've been out there during the early morning hours before watering, because when it's 105 degrees out, that's the coolest time to do it. Yes, a lot of times I'd wait till the sun goes down before I'd even think about watering, because that's the coolest time that you can get out there and do it yourself. So, and I was never fortunate enough to be able to put in drip lines and all that kind of stuff. Your well is over 200 feet deep. Oh, wow. You got plenty of water rated, RJ. I wish I had my own pump well water here that I could water my stuff with. But in this subdivision, all the mineral rights, the water rights, and everything else are owned by somebody else. You own the property as far as the property itself. But the mineral rights and the water rights, oil rights, that type of stuff, it was sold out to companies years ago. So they claim you can't even put a water well down on your property. But you know what? A friend of mine did here. They said, we're not paying a water bill. We own the property and we're putting a well down. And they did. The whole time they lived here, they pumped their own water with their own well. They never paid a water bill. I don't know how they got away with it, but they did. And I think that's crazy. When you own a piece of property, you should own your own water rights, your mineral rights, your oil rights, everything that goes with that property. They shouldn't be allowed to sell off that before you even buy your property. That last comment was not appropriate. From who, Jana? RJ? Where it says, tell him to shove it. Hey, Jana, I just noticed you were here. You feeling good tonight? You doing okay? Yeah, I don't know who he's telling to shove it. I wasn't paying attention, I guess. Yeah, I'm not trying to use up the water. I try to conserve every way I can imaginable to save on water. For one, I don't want to pay a huge water bill. The water bill. Well, when you're on city water and you pay a water bill every month, you got to at least pay your water bill. You can't tell them to shove it. They'll turn your water off. And then I won't have any water. Who's that behind? There's no one behind me, Gavin West. I think you come into my lives asking that one time before. Yep, exactly right, Jana. We got prayers coming your way. We keep them coming all the time. But it looks like I'm destined to live right here where I'm at. And if I'm destined to live here, I'm going to have a garden. I don't care. I'll do whatever I can do to conserve on water because I know how these summers are, hot and dry. And when it's hot and dry and no rain, the water companies suffer too. They've got to supply clean, fresh drinking water for many houses, many residential areas. One thing that helps me, I'm the only one here, so I'm the only one taking showers, baths, that type of thing. I'm the only one that I'm doing laundry for, so that cuts down on water usage right there. I don't have a family of 5 or 6 here that I'm having to do all that for, which I'd use a lot more water. Like when my kids lived at home, having to do laundry 2 or 3 times as much as I'm doing now, my water bill would be a lot more. And there's Crystal McKinley. Hello, Crystal. How is Crystal this evening? Yeah, my plants love it. I'm in North Carolina. Oh, really? I'm originally from North Carolina, just outside of Wilmington. The port city. I lived on Oak Island just before I moved to Texas. What part of North Carolina are you in? My hair's still wet, y'all. You're in Snow Hill, North Carolina. I'm not familiar with Snow Hill. What is that near? What part of the state? We moved out here in 1978. My ex-husband, who was my husband at the time, was transferred from Southport Nuclear Power Plant to Comanche Peak Nuclear Power Plant. He was a civil engineer, and he was boss man on the job out there. So we left North Carolina like on a Wednesday, Thursday, and we ended up in Texas 3 days later. He was on the job that Monday. And I'm still here. He's since retired and moved back to North Carolina. He inherited his family's farm and brick home that they lived in because they're deceased. So that's where I would have been, if we were still married. I'd have been living in Vale, North Carolina, on his parents' farm and living in their house that they had. I'm going to have to look up Snow Hill. I'm not familiar with what direction that's in. And there's Country Cutie. Hello, Country Cutie. How's your evening going? Kinston, North Carolina, or Aden, North Carolina, or Goldsboro. Oh, okay. Around those areas, huh? Areas that I have never really been to. I've heard of them, but I know about where they're located, but I've never been there. Yeah, North Carolina is a big place, and I've never been to even half of the cities and towns in North Carolina, I'm sorry to say. It'd be nice, I think, just to be able to travel through the United States and see everything. I mean, there's so much to see. So many little towns and big towns in each state. So many like parks and sightseeing places to go to that I'll never see. North Carolina is new to me. It's okay, girl. Where are you originally from, Crystal? My hometown is Texas. What part of Texas? Because that's where I am now. I'm in Texas. Been here since 1978. Are you anywhere close to me here in Granbury? Longview, that's not too far away. So you know a little bit about this Texas heat. The Texas drought that we get in the summer. I'm sorry about that, y'all. I didn't turn my notifications off on my phone. And I can't get to it now without messing up the live. So how long have you been in North Carolina now? Your family lives in Longview. Okay. What took you to North Carolina? And there's East Texas vlogger. Hello. Howdy to you. I burned my armpit on the hot car in Texas. Oh no. That's pretty easy to do because these cars get awfully hot out here in this Texas sun. Been to Houston, it's beautiful. Yeah, Houston's a pretty big town. And howdy from Lake Palestine. Hello, East Texas vlogger. Taking care of your husband's parents, okay? You know, when I was growing up, all of the family took care of family. I mean, you didn't see people being put in nursing homes and all this. The family kept them home and took care of them. And I just kind of took it for granted, you know, that that's the way I would be when I got old and feeble. But now I don't know. I'm not sure how I'm going to end up before I die. You're 86 years old. Oh, goodness. Okay. Well, you got a few years on me. Not many, but you got a few of them. M3. Greetings of peace and solutions. My dear, life is short. Time is very soul shall taste death. Worship none but one God. Come to Islam. Well, thank you for the invitation, but I don't think I will ever be to any of these foreign countries. Rated RJ says, look at that. You're my neighbor, Parker County, Texas here. Okay, I'm in Hood County. Your mother-in-law is 86 years old. Okay. So you've been quite a few places, Jana. I've been like to New York City because I used to live up there. And of course I've been through the states between North Carolina and New York because we always went by bus or car. We never flew when I was small growing up. Daddy'd always drive, or we'd go on a bus, or we'd go by train. We'd get on the train at Rocky Mount, North Carolina. It would take us to New York City. And then, of course, I've been through the states from Texas to North Carolina driving. But that's all I've seen of that, except for, was it Tennessee, where Graceland is? Because I made my ex stop at Graceland when we first moved out here, and that was right after Elvis died. And I threw a fit. I wouldn't let him leave until we went through Graceland. So we stopped and got in line. Oh my God, the line was 3 blocks long to get into Graceland. And my son was only about a year and a half old at the time. But I'm glad I did. At least I got to see Graceland, a little bit of it. We didn't get to go in the house because at that particular time they didn't have the house open to the public. But you could walk through the grounds and around and go by his grave. Rated RJ said, 89, I'm 35. NOU says night night. Well, whoever you are, night night. Yeah, North Carolina is a beautiful state. And the beaches are beautiful from the area where I used to live, or where I grew up, around Carolina Beach, Wrightsville Beach, Fort Caswell. I mean, the sand on the beaches is just pure white. It looks like it was trucked in, but it's all natural. They have beautiful beaches in North Carolina. That's one thing I miss because I don't get to go to the beach anymore. And my ex said when we first moved out here, said, well, you got the Lake Granbury. I said, yeah, but it's not like the ocean. There's no waves, you know. There's no waves coming in. Yeah, who is doing that? M3, please quit commenting like that, or somebody's going to take you out. Because we don't force religion or anything else on anybody in my chats. There you go, RJ. 4 kids, could have divorced my wife, but we worked hard. And by God's grace, over the last 3 years, we made it. Well, good for you. Yeah, too many sharks out there in the ocean. I never really liked to get in the ocean even above my knees because you never knew what was in the water. If I went in the water at all. It was just to kind of get my feet wet. I never went very far out. I was born in 1991. I'm 33 years old. Well, good for you, Crystal. That's where my dad was born and raised. His parents had a big farm. I mean, that was their livelihood. They lived off their farm. Yeah, me either, Jana. I like to walk in just the waves when they come up, and I can see what's in the water between the water and the sand. I like to walk in the water, but I don't like to get out there. I've gotten out there a few times when it was like chest deep, and you feel things brushing your legs, and that just freaks me out because you don't know what's down there. You can't see it. You don't know if there's a shark coming up to get your leg or not. And there's been, a few shark attacks in the last couple of years. You didn't used to hear about shark attacks on the coast of North Carolina, but you do now. But I love walking on the beach. I love digging clams, fishing. We used to put out a gill net, pull it in every 12 hours and get fish. I like to walk the beach and find shells and that type of thing. It's just relaxing. I love doing that. And we were only 2 blocks from the beach strand itself where we live, so I could walk out my front door and be on the beach in 5 minutes and just walk down there. Yeah, that's what I hear, Crystal. Florida's pretty bad too with the sharks. Yeah, I like a pool. At least when you look in the water, you can see the bottom. You can see what's in there, and hopefully there's nothing in there but other people. I used to do that, TTT, Mom. When I was little growing up, my dad loved to go fishing on the beach. And we'd take blankets and spread them out on the beach, and we'd just sleep, through the night while my dad was out fishing. I mean, he was fishing off the bank. He was right there. But, yeah, I remember doing that. It was kind of cool. Yeah, everything tastes like chicken, Dennis. You grew up in Huntington Beach, Southern California, never had problems with sharks, not that way. I know. When I grew up, you never heard of shark attacks off the coast of North Carolina. Wrightsville Beach, Carolina Beach, or any of that area. But now you do. And I love, from our house you could hear the waves. You could hear the sound of the waves coming in. And when we moved to Texas, it was too quiet. You couldn't hear the ocean anymore. Well, that's usually in Florida, not North Carolina. I've never seen alligators at people's doors in North Carolina. I think that takes place in Florida. I don't think I'd want to live in Florida because people fence their yards in to keep alligators out. But as big as an alligator, if he wants to come through your fence, he's coming through. That fence ain't going to stop him. Well, the thing I don't like about the lake is you can't see the bottom. You can't see what's in the water. But now, White Lake in North Carolina is only 20 miles from my hometown, which we used to go to. It was crystal clear. You could almost walk all the way out to the end of the pier, and you could still see the bottom. It was that clear, and it was white sand. I love swimming there because you knew there was nothing in the water to bother you, There was no sharks. Yeah, it depends on the lake. Well, I'm talking Crystal Lake, where we went 20 miles from my hometown, which was Atkinson, North Carolina. It was crystal clear. You could see the bottom. You knew there was nothing in there that was going to bother you. You never had sharks or anything like that. Now, I don't know what it's like now. I mean, some of these harebrained people may have stocked the lake with sharks or something to bother you. I have no idea because, you know, some harebrained people will do stuff like that. Yeah, it's real humid in North Carolina too, where I'm from, because my hair will just be kinky curly in North Carolina, and it's dry here, so it kind of straightens out. And you know, I never noticed how humid it was until after I lived in Texas for several years, and I went back home to visit my mom, and it was a really extremely humid day. I stepped out the front door to walk just down the street to where my property was. And I tell you what, it was like being in a hot steam shower. And I said, well, that's why my allergies didn't bother me much there, is because the air was so thick with humidity, it kept all the dust down, so you weren't breathing it. MT is sawing logs. Huh. I fell asleep, just woke up. Taylor knocks you out. That would be fun. I mean, I've seen people do that. They'd swim with the dolphins and hold on to their fins and they'd pull them. That would be fun to do, but it would terrify me. I'd be afraid I'd be holding on. He'd take me down and not come back up. Riding a horse on the beach, as cheesy as it sounds, is on my bucket list. Well, that's a pretty nice thing to think about doing. It would be a fun thing. I went horseback riding one time with my brothers and some friends, and there was a guy that lived just outside my hometown that had horses, and he'd let you ride them, take them out for the day just to exercise them. You know, doesn't charge you to ride them. And we had his horses out. I was on this big white mare, and it was on a windy day, and we were going down this sandy river road, and the wind was blowing so hard the leaves, the wind, you know, the limbs, the tree limbs were kind of swaying and moving, and it spooked the horse I was on. That horse stood straight up with me on the back, and I'm holding on for dear life. And when that horse came down, took off like a streak of lightning, I dropped the reins and I held on to the saddle. And one of the guys that was with us riding, he rode in a rodeo, so he could handle a horse, you know. He took in after me, and I'm hanging on for dear life. I'm sideways on the saddle by the time he stops my horse. And he said, "Where were you going?" I said, "I don't know, but I'm holding on for dear life." And if he had not caught up to my horse by then, I would have slid off because I couldn't physically hold on anymore. Horse tastes like chicken also. Well, I don't know. I've never tasted horse. Yeah, it's a lot of fun to go horseback riding. But one of my brothers, he'd never been horseback riding before, and he rode for quite a while that day. He was in bed the next day because he couldn't move. His legs, the muscles in his legs and his hips were so sore he could not move. He could not get out of bed. Well, that's true, country cutie. We may eat horse and we don't know it. And there's Reverend Kelly. Hello, Reverend Kelly. How are you doing this evening? Well, good, Reverend Kelly. Yeah, when you buy food, you don't, I mean, you know what it's labeled as, you know what it looks like, but you don't know for sure what it is. Thank you, Reverend Kelly. Yeah, I mean, I eat what I think is chicken. I eat what I think is fish. I eat what I think is beef. But hey, I don't know. I wouldn't stake my life on what I eat is what I'm eating, or what I think I'm eating sometimes. I mean, I think it's on the up and up, but yeah, I mean, if things got bad enough for long enough, you'd eat just about anything. You wouldn't be choosy about what the meat was as long as it was edible. The beef anymore is sketchy. Yeah. You heard things about Mineral Wells area? Oh, I know. It's beautiful here today. It was like 85 degrees, 83 degrees. I mean, I was out there sweating. I had to sit down every once in a while and just catch my breath and then get up and do it all over again. Oh, yeah, that's what I was working on today. And I got to get right back out there with it tomorrow. Yeah, just don't pay any attention to them. If it gets too bad, put them in timeout, Edith. You have my permission to put them in timeout. Yeah, it's going to be warm for here on in. It's going to be in the 40s and 50s every night, if not warmer. I just hope we don't get another freeze after my plants start growing good. I've got turnips come up. I've got yellow beets, red beets coming up. I've got zucchini and squash that's come up. Well, I showed them in my last couple of videos. I've planted onions, the big yellow onions. I planted the red onions. And I've already got tons of Egyptian walking onions. I don't know what I'm going to do with all these onions. And I've got flower bulbs to plant. I bought a package of garlic. I got this garlic to plant. You get 3 big bulbs of garlic for like less than $4, $3.46. And of course you break them apart to plant them. So I got those to plant. And I've still got seeds to start. I've got these patty pans to get in the ground. I've got some more Black Beauties eggplant to get in the ground because my seeds haven't come up yet. I've got the white Casper eggplant. I'm dying to try these. I've never planted those before. And I've got black cherry tomatoes. Look at that. Look at the color of them. They're almost a ruby red. I shouldn't buy seeds, but if I come across something I've never grown before, like the black cherry tomato and the Casper white eggplant, I have to try it. And I've not had any luck with my patty pan squash out here. So I've got to try it again this year and put it in more sun this year. Well, I have a bad ant problem. So I've learned to start spraying with hot pepper. Whoa. Nobody touched that. Why is it making a sound? I have a bad problem with ants, and they will devour. They will devour okra and some other plants that I've got. But one of my subscribers told me that their dad always made hot pepper spray. Just take hot jalapenos, throw them in a big pot, and boil them forever. Just boil them for a couple of hours, strain it out, put it in a sprayer, and spray your plants. And I did it. And my okra were covered with ants when I sprayed them. I went out there and looked at them the next day. No ants anywhere to be seen. And all of a sudden, my okra just started growing so pretty you wouldn't believe it. So I'm a believer in the hot pepper spray. Well, bugs will always get to your lettuce if you're not careful. So you do have to spray with some kind of insecticide or bug repellent. Or if you're growing lettuce in a container, a pot, you make some kind of a mesh screen to put over it to keep the bugs from getting in. Or put eggshells or something around the bottom of the plant in the dirt, around the dirt. Crushed eggshells to where snails or these other bugs don't crawl in there to eat it up. Exactly, Rated RJ. I took a great big pot and I threw a whole bunch of jalapenos in there. I boiled them for several hours. And then I strained all the liquid off of it. And I put it in one of those big, what is it, like a 2-gallon sprayer. And I took them out there and started spraying anything that had ants on it. Like my okra. I even sprayed my cabbages and my collards. It helped with the worms too. It helps with any kind of bug. That's one reason I've got to where I will distribute jalapeno plants all over my yard, all over my garden, in and out of everywhere. Because they keep the ants and some bugs away from your plants. Yeah, I just use jalapenos. You could probably use any kind of a hot pepper. But it's got to be the hot pepper. Because the ants don't like the hot pepper. They won't come near it. Like last year I planted Hungarian wax hot peppers. I planted the purple peppers, which are really hot. Little tiny things, but oh my God, they were like dynamite when it come to heat. But the jalapenos, if you have to buy them to make that spray, are the cheapest because you can get a whole pound of jalapenos for hardly anything. But to plant them in your garden, even if you don't want jalapenos, to plant them in your garden keeps all the bugs away. If you plant marigolds around in your garden, it keeps a lot of the bugs away. Basil helps keep it away. Mint keeps it away. There's a lot of herbs that you can plant around your garden that keeps bugs and ants away from your plants. So that's what I do, you know. Even in my cucumbers and stuff, I've got a hot pepper plant at one end of the raised bed. Or I planted it and it hasn't come up yet. Well, so far, you know, in the raised bed and the elevated totes and 5-gallon buckets that I plant in, I don't have a problem with armadillos. They come in my yard, but they can't get into the pots or the totes to get to the plants. And so far, I've not been bothered with snakes either. Now, when I first moved here many, many years ago, once in a while you'd see a dead snake out on the street. where a car would run over it. But now we're so heavily populated in this subdivision, I think the cars keep the snakes away. They've killed them off. They stay closer to the lake now. That's one good thing about the development increasing in population. There's more traffic, there's more home building, less snakes. Well, I put onion peels in my compost. Some people say that onion peels are not good, but oh yes it is. Anything that's edible that you can put in your compost is good. Compost makes great fertilizer for your plants, even the onions. Okay, Gladys, you have a good night. Sleep tight, don't let the bed bugs bite, and we'll see you next time. See you tomorrow night. Tomorrow night's trivia night. I never knew that jalapenos were salty. They're just extremely hot. Oh, really? At the new house, it's only day 3, but there's a lot of more fence lizards in North Dallas. I saw what they call a whip snake in my yard one time. I opened my front door here, stepped out on the porch, and all of a sudden I heard something go shh, like that, and he went up the tree. And it was a big, long black snake. And I looked him up in the on the internet, and it's called a whip snake, a coach snake. They're harmless, but they're pretty big, and they move really fast across the yard when they hear anybody coming, you know. And he heard me when I come out the front door, and I guess I spooked the snake. That's one reason I put the roof on my patio. Because that big old snake went right up the tree at the edge of the patio. And I said, with the roof up there, he's not going to just drop out of that tree and fall on my head, which would scare me so bad I'd have a heart attack. Snakes are a hard no for me. Yeah, I don't like snakes of any kind. Yeah, they're good snakes, the whip snakes, but you know, they're scary, they're big, and they're black. But I haven't seen one in years and years of any kind, so I'm pretty good on snakes, I guess. But in other areas of this community, I've heard people have had snakes in their yard. Maybe they're not as heavily populated as this area right here, or maybe they have like creeks running by their street with water or something that attracts the snakes. I don't know. But yeah, I virtually don't see any snakes up here anymore. At my son's house where he lives, it's a breeding ground for snakes. He's finding them in his I don't know what. Well, it's his big shed where he he puts his boat and he puts his tractor and stuff like that. He said he went walking in there one day to do something or get something, and there was a snake curled up in the corner. And they had a wisteria tree or something in the yard. And they found out that it was a snake's den under it. It was like covered over like a beehive, and the snakes were inside it. Well, needless to say, when my son found that out, he cut that thing out of there. He said, I took their home away from them. They can go somewhere else. Yeah, I don't have snakes in my garden. Or I haven't had them so far. And I hope I don't. Ricky Ticky Tovey gave me PTSD as a child. Oh no. We got 48 people watching. 36 30 some 36 thumbs up, and I got 50 people watching. Well, that's what it shows on my camera up here. We've been on almost 2 hours. Maybe you need to refresh, because it shows up here that there's 36 thumbs up, and I've dropped down to 49 people watching. Yeah, I've tasted snake before. One time in my life, and it did taste kind of like chicken. But I wouldn't go out to want snake. I wouldn't want to go buy snake to eat. It was an animated show about a mongoose and how to protect family from cobras. Oh no. It is good. Yeah, it was pretty good, but it's just the idea of what you're eating, I guess, you know? Yeah, I got to replace one of my totes in the back because the canopy fell over. The wind blew it over and it busted one of my totes last year. And it's about to bust open the side. So I need to get what's in it out, put the new tote there, and, put more soil and dirt in it. And I think that's where I'm going to plant my garlic. I'm going to fill one tote up with garlic, I think. And I bought a package of seed sweet potatoes, but I don't know if they're going to have any slips on them because there's not a thing growing out of any of the little eyes. So I don't know how long or if they will even put out a sweet potato slip. Everybody name the weirdest animal you can think of. I don't know. A sloth? I think a sloth is pretty odd. Platypus. Capybara. I don't even know what that is, country cutie. A hyena. It's a giant hamster. Yeah, a sloth is pretty odd. They're weird looking critters. Oh, you got the bell pepper seed yesterday, Cindy? Well, get them planted, even if you put them in a pot. I put all my bell pepper seed in my pots because it takes a little bit for the seeds to germinate and finally sprout. I found that all the pepper seeds and the tomato seeds especially take a good while to sprout and come up. You like the mongoose, Dennis? A hairless cat, yeah. Those look weird because they look like, I don't know, they just look creepy. An aardvark. Jackalope is the winner. Fainting goats are funny, yeah. I've heard about those, but I don't think I've ever seen one actually faint. I guess it would be funny just to be looking at some goats and all of a sudden they'd fall out and faint. Why do they do that? Is it when people come around they faint to make people think they're dead or something, that so they'll leave them alone? They just flop right over. All right, whoever is in this house using vulgarity, please stop. I don't know who you are, or I would say put you in timeout. Edith, you have my permission. Anybody that uses vulgarity in this live, you can put them in timeout for me. Dennis got them. Okay, good, Dennis. Good going. Country cutie, and they blamed Edith. Oh my goodness. Well, I didn't see the comment that was put up, or I'd have said something about it. I guess I was too busy reading other comments or something. They're trolls, country cutie, just a bunch of trolls. You love the braying donkey? Yeah, I keep wanting my strawberries to come, but I don't have the raised bed ready for them yet. But I hope they don't wait till May, June, or July to send me my strawberry plants. And they got me, I checked on the website where I ordered them, and they've got me in Brazos Bend area. I'm not in Brazos Bend, which is in zone 7 something. I'm in 8. I'm in zone 8. I can plant something a lot earlier than they can. And I haven't found anywhere on the site to correct that, to let them know, hey, I want my strawberry plants like now. I think you can Sam. It's kind of crazy if that counts. Toucan Sam. Who was Honky Tonky Wonky Donkey? I have no idea. Well, I wanted to have me a patch of strawberries in my yard, in my garden, that will come back every year. But, I haven't gotten them yet. They've already debited my account for payment. And they say they will ship in the spring. Well, this is the spring. I need my strawberry plants. I mean, I don't want to wait till it's 100 degrees to plant my strawberries. And I don't know how to get into that site to change where they've got my designation is. I'm not in zone 7. I'm in 8B, I think, or 8A. I don't have to wait till May to plant them. I want them planted now. Hey, Emmanuel. Well, hello, Roger Chambers. Dennis says, Lord help Front Loop's bird. What? Fruit Loop bird. I don't know what you're talking about. RJ said it's bedtime for him. His 4 kids wore him out. Good talking to you. Nice to meet your neighbor. Well, I'm so happy you came into my chat tonight, Rated RJ. Maybe we'll see you tomorrow night, too, for trivia. Your texture broke. Well, it's 10:31, y'all. As much as I enjoy your company, I guess I should end the chat and let everybody, some of you go to bed that need to go to bed, and I don't know what the rest of you want to go do, but I'm sure there's other things that you'd like to do with the rest of your night rather than stay in this live. As much as I enjoy having you here. Having to zap a lot. Yeah. I can count on Dennis. He catches them. Yep, that's right, Edith. Can leave with your vulgarity, Roger, and not come back. Cindy Davis, hello. Night to you. And like I said, I'm tired. My hair is almost dry. And it was soaking wet when I first started this live. And it's 10:33. It's almost bedtime for me. I've been trying to go to bed earlier so I don't sleep so late in the mornings, because I want to get up and get out in the yard and get stuff done. And usually it's about noon before I get out there, because sometimes these mornings are kind of chilly and I don't want to get out in the cool morning air. But like in the middle of the summer when it's already hot at 8 o'clock in the morning, you get up early and you get all your stuff in the yard done by lunchtime, because you don't want to go out there in the afternoon. It's too hot. Okay, y'all, I love having each and every one of you in my chat tonight. I hope you have a good night. Sleep tight. Don't let the bed bugs bite. Please like, share, and subscribe to my videos. And I hope to see you tomorrow night for trivia night. Love y'all. Bye.